Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Well, Turkey is an active international player, and if you know, Erdogan spoke with Putin on Friday over the phone, and then one of the Turkish spokespersons, a man, he came out and said, well, Putin would like to make a bargain offer to the West, a big one. And now it seems like they didn't say what, to the Western countries. And now I have a follow-up on that one. And the Turks will mention what countries Putin wants to deal with, because he doesn't have to deal with Ukraine. Ukraine is not in control. He didn't have a problem with Ukraine per se. Have a problem with the handlers who do stuff to Ukraine, and Ukraine is the buffer, the first entity that the Russians have to deal with. So in this case, Turkey will tell us the countries, and they want to mediate. So they want to be a big player. I expect that the Western countries will just go through this and get through that, because they're achieving their goal, which is destruction of Russia. This article comes from Ukrainska Pravda, and it is from October 9th, 2022. Turkey wants to organize negotiations about quote-unquote big agreement between Russia and Western countries. Turkey has decided to organize negotiations between Russia and 4 Western powers: the United Kingdom, Germany, the USA, and France, to try to reach a big agreement that Moscow wants. Actually, I think they are talking about, because I was wondering why would they include France and Germany? Probably just to dilute the Westerns, stance. And also it's a European security thing, and the Americans who are actually, they run the European foreign policy. Details. After analyzing the speeches of Russian President Vladimir Putin, Turkey came to the conclusion that Moscow wants a long-term agreement with the West, end quote. And I'm quoting, not all Western capitals were informed about the plan, but it was conveyed to the US through important and private channels. They know, they don't care. The initial comments from influential officials in Washington about the plan were positive, the Turkish publication claims. Milliyet does not specify whether the full-scale Russian invasion, so Milliyet is a Turkish newspaper, just so we know, because I was like, who's this? Milliyet does not specify whether the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine will be discussed at these talks, but, quote-unquote, Ankara also respects the wishes of Ukraine and speaks openly that the war should turn into peace without the use of tactical nuclear weapons, end quote. It is not known whether Moscow will agree to such a dialogue, the article said. Earlier, Ibrahim Kalin, advisor to the Turkish president, said that the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, wanted to reach a quote-unquote new big agreement, end quote, with the West, and this explained Moscow's desire to enter negotiation. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on September 30th that Ukraine would not negotiate with Russia. They're not asked. So let's put this, you're not asked, you're not in it. So, I don't know. Unless the West wants to get you in so you can stall the conversation. While Vladimir Zelensky so they don't want to negotiate with Russia, while Vladimir Putin was the president of the Russian Federation. The president of Ukraine made this decision after Russia had annexed 4 partially occupied Ukrainian oblasts. No, it's not all that. This is just, he could say, no, because you invaded my country. No, because you looked sideways to me. So this is just because you held the referendum. It's not that. Well, you killed the Ukrainian. That's a good enough reason. Oh, you invaded my country. That's a good enough reason. So when he says it's just, a reason to say no. It's the same as Poland did to the Nazi Germany before September 1st, 1939. No, we're not going to, we're going to negotiate with you. Okay. No, we don't agree. Okay, we meet again. We don't agree. Why? Because the Brits were behind and said, nah. So that's negotiating in bad faith. Okay, when you don't even want to negotiate, you will not get to any concession, or not going to give any concession to the opposite to get something, and you just go over there and show up and say, yeah, let's negotiate. Stupids. That's how it was with the Germans, according with many historians. And when I talked about the Danzig corridor, just so you know what I'm talking about, so we don't have people who say, what are you talking about? That's exactly what I'm talking about. East Prussia, German territory, remember? Oh my God, no, you can't say that. Well, historically, look over it. Oh, no. Oh, yes. So let's go back to this. So they mentioned those countries. Now, I have to remind you, if you don't remember, that in December 2021, okay, there was about, what, 10 months, 8 months, 10 months ago, the Russian government officially submitted a request to negotiate, to talk about certain issues that Russia considered to be very important, for their security, regarding security of Europe, military personnel in Ukraine, NATO troops. If you remember, NATO held drills in Ukraine in 2021. Drills, okay? So Russia had no reason to have any suspicions or any security concerns, right? So if you remember, in December, the Russians submitted that to the United States, and what did the guys in Washington do? I think this is good toilet paper, and they used it as such. So this is what they did with the Russians' proposals to negotiate and talk before anything started. That was the last resort. So what happened? Nothing. These guys said, okay, the next one is war. And they let them know, we need to talk. Let's talk. No, there's nothing to talk about, because NATO will expand, because it's the open door policy. That was the answer from the NATO and Americans regarding Russia's security concerns. Well, man, I'm sorry. It's just our policy that we can put whatever we want wherever they want us to come. So remember, the open door policy is not necessarily admission or accepting a country. Anyone can apply. Russia can apply. That's the open door policy of NATO. It's not that whomever applies should be accepted. It's anyone can apply, but we're going to make a decision. So the same thing with this. But NATO said, no, just go home, Russia. You didn't invade yet? Well, come on, man. We've been waiting 8 years waiting for you to invade. Kind of late, you're slow, you're getting it, the hint, but they held back. So why would this negotiation be different than the other one? The West will not even agree to it. They will say, okay, give us your proposal. Probably that's the way, if they look at it positively. Give us your proposals. All right, and this will be the proposal. The Russians are going to give them a list. This guy's going to say, nah, no. Go back and bring new ones. So go and get the good ones. Why? Because this is going to be the bottom line. Because the Western countries say, well, you're losing now, so we have the upper hand, so we're going to queue up. But I think what the Russians are doing are just trying to say, see, we tried one more time with those guys, with the sponsors. And if the sponsors did not want to negotiate or talk about it, then we'll have to defend our country. I think they just build their case for their own people, to justify their future actions on this and that and that. And that's what they're going to do. Even if they, let's say, they were, let's say, in charge of the Kerch Bridge explosion, right? The attacks. Even if the Russians did it, they did it for that reason. Could be. Let's make these guys are attacking our territory, so we have to defend our territory. What should we do? well, how about you use that thing? So this is going to be with the so-called negotiations. And if the West will want to negotiate, they will say like this, no, you got to do this. And they're going to impose exactly what they wanted after 1999, when things changed in Russia. They'll say, no, you got to go back to that. You got to go take all your army out of territories. You have to, tell the people who voted for being part of Russia that their will is not respected. Go back. Then they should allow the Ukrainian army to go over and liberate those. You know how those liberations occur, right? You were a collaborator. You were a collaborator. You come over here and all that. They will liberate them, and after that, Russia will pay about $250 billion plus interest to the Ukrainians, to the four people in control of the Ukrainian nation, and the sponsors will bring that armies over there. They will verify the Russians. They will be in control of the Russian military and verify and inspect their weapons like they did during Yeltsin time. And basically they will say, we are in charge of you. You want to negotiate? No? Oh, okay. So you don't want peace. Let's go. Let's move on. And the Russians say, "Sad, we tried." Okay. That's what I foresee things happen. There's not going to be any negotiation. I mean, if it gets to the negotiation, that means the Russians capitulated all of it. And if that happens, I don't think these guys are going to keep Putin and his officials in place. Remember, Putin was elected by Russians. Now, thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.